Good morning, everybody. My name is Guy Vorster, and I'm a Principal Solution Consultant at Reltio. I have with me two guests today from First Tech Federal Credit Union to talk a little bit about their journey from a product-centric view of their members to one where their members are at the center of everything that they do. With me are Jay Franklin and Leland Nell. Jay is the Senior VP of Enterprise Data and Analytics, and Leland is the Senior Director of Data Business Practices. So for those of you that don't know, credit unions have a fundamentally different outlook in terms of how they operate, in that they return all their profits to their members. And so one would think that a credit union, just by default, would already be a member-centric or a customer-centric organization. But as you'll see through the discussion with Jay and Leland, this is not actually the case. They too suffer from the exact same problems that most financial services firms out there suffer from, and that is product-centric views and siloed data. And so that being said, you would also think, being member-centric organizations, that starting a journey down the path to mastering their members or their customers would be an absolute no-brainer. But what you'll see through this discussion is it's been a real journey for these folks, and a very interesting one. And this discussion today is all about business value. And so, Jay, I'd love for you to start us off talking a little bit about that journey, because it certainly has been a long journey for you folks. Love to hear a bit more about it.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Guy, and good morning. I know it's been a long couple of days, and we've heard about a lot of different journeys across different industries, different size companies, but I think one of the common themes that we're certainly hearing is that in the wake of the pandemic and all of the macroeconomic changes, consumer behavior has changed, and we all have to adapt to that. So we want to take you on our journey with us, not just tell you about it, but bring you on the journey of how did we provide the thought leadership as data and analytics leaders so that we could get the organization aligned around those things we would need to do to respond to the moment and be relevant for the future. But in order for me to take you on that journey, I actually have to tell you a secret. But you have to promise not to tell anyone, all right? Because it's kind of scandalous. In fact, it's kind of racy. Well, here we go. Here's my secret. 50% of Americans are cheating on their bank or credit union. Can you believe that? Well, I mean, think about it. Think about all your credit cards, deposit accounts, loans, insurance and investment products. You probably have, 2, 3, 4 different institutions that you're dealing with. Well, the good news for us as financial institutions is that about 75% of the younger generation say they would actually choose to do business with one bank or credit union if they could find one that met all their needs. So what are those needs? Well, we have to take a look again at the big landscape. We've got climate change, we've got international unrest, we've got polarization at the height, especially here in the US, and generally a mistrust of man-made institutions. And in fact, the younger generations are seeking to work for and to do business with organizations with whom they believe they can align socially and with their values, and one that will really have their backs. So as a financial institution, we have to demonstrate that we actually do have their back and that they can trust us with their money and with their data and their privacy, and that we use the data responsibly to deliver amazing experiences that are actually relevant and not just cool. We also have to demonstrate that our values are aligned with our members, and as an organization that caters to the tech community, we have to understand what does that mean, because all tech workers are not alike. So the thing that's tricky, though, is that all consumers are really expecting these personalized and intelligent engagements. And you'd think, well, how come it's not happening? All these financial institutions must get that. Well, we do get it. But guess what? It's hard. And only 94% of all financial institutions fail to deliver the personalization promise. Well, how come? Let's take a look. we spent an awful lot of energy, all financial institutions, to deliver mobile banking. In fact, First Tech introduced the first online banking anywhere. And so because we're tech, we put a lot of energy into that. But when you think about it, cool online banking isn't really going to cut it. I mean, how many times have you gotten on your phone and said, ooh, look at that checking account. That would make me look good. What about that debit card to go with it? Well, you don't do that, right? We're not Etsy, we're not Nordstrom, we're not even Amazon. So when you come to do banking and you come to do digital banking, you want to get stuff done. So we need to make sure we're designing experiences that are intuitive and frictionless and easy. But if you get stuck or you have a question, you expect a human to be there who's knowledgeable and who knows what you were trying to get done so you don't have to re-explain the thing to them over and over again. Well, there's good news to that, is that if we can deliver that, members would pay up to 16% more for the same products and services if they knew that we could deliver those experiences and that we had their back and we understood them. But on the flip side, over 54% of us as consumers would change our entire financial institution relationship if we couldn't get those experiences that we're demanding. And there's the promiscuity, about 50% of Americans. Well, why is that? We've got these wonderful products and services. We've got these different channels like not only the mobile and online banking, but ATMs, contact center, branch experience centers, all of these ways where people can engage with us however they want to engage with us. But what's the ugly behind that? It's all this stuff. If you think about it, all of our systems are either on-premise, in private cloud, public cloud, and our departments, data, and partners are very siloed. You know, different incentives, different ways of operating, and different data that tells them what the truth is around our members and prospective members. So all of these legacy practices make it tremendously hard to actually show up as one financial institution who actually has the back of the member. We show up as a fractured organization because of all this legacy. And that's why only 6% of financial institutions are successful in delivering on the personalization promise. So we said, if we were going to be among that 6%, what did we have to do? Well, first we had to agree on what did personalization in banking mean, and what did it mean specifically for First Tech. So we got together a team. I drove a team of cross-functional leaders in 2019 to develop a 30-page strategy around what personalization means for First Tech. And these are the components here. So if you look at the center of the slide, at the top, of course, it started with data. We knew that we needed to make sure to take advantage of the first-party data and the third-party data and every opportunity to collect that so that we could do the analysis of member behaviors, preferences, priorities, et cetera. And going down the right-hand side of the slide, you can see, of course, we said we'll use that to make amazing insights and be able to analyze and understand what those priorities are. So we would need some certain technology. Of course, we needed a cloud-native EDW, and we needed master data management to link together all this disparate data and create a golden record profile. We also needed a personalization engine to be able to take all these recommendations and advice and deliver it to the right member at the right time in the right channel. So great. Guess what? Probably other financial institutions have looked at that whole side of the slide as well. But we said that the reason a lot of organizations are not able to deliver on the personalization promise is not only all of those things, but it's the left-hand side of the slide. So if you think about the people, do all of our people have the skills to work with AI, to work with data, to become data and insights driven? Are they analytically inquisitive? Do they understand what it means to be member-centric and to behave in that way? Are they incented through goals and compensation to actually operate at the enterprise level? So we had to look at processes and all of the things around how we operate and develop products and services. And that meant that we had to become member-centric. So, we took this up to the board and we said, okay, that's great. They endorsed it. The executive team endorsed it. And we said to make it come to life, we needed an operating team. So we created what's called the Member-Centric Intelligence Program so that it became ongoing and we could realize that vision. But there was one other problem. We said, aren't we already member-centric? In fact, one of the board members asked me, Jay, do we really have to do all this work? I mean, we're a credit union, aren't we member-centric? And I said, no, we're not. We're member-focused because we're very nice, we're very kind. We try to help our members when they come to us with their problems or their opportunities. We do the best we can. And we ask them for feedback about how we're doing. But that only means that we're reactive. If we were going to be member-centric, we needed to shift to become proactive. And that meant that we would use vast amounts of data to do the analytics so that we could anticipate member needs and what their priorities would be, and that we could deliver experiences that are memorable and unique and relevant to them. It meant that the experience would not just be pleasant, but really something that members would see demonstrates that we know them and we have their back. So in other words, we had to shift from a way of interacting to a way of operating. And that's a whole lot of work. So if you take a look here, a member-centric operating model means we start with the data to drive the insights that drive a holistic and cohesive member experience across channels, and creates member solutions, not just siloed product offerings. And we deliver them through advice and personalized experiences. And how do we know whether it works? Continuous measurement, continuous improvement, and the cycle begins. So, okay, now we agreed that this is what member centricity is, this is what personalization is. We said, what's it going to take? So if you look to the left of the slide, there are two little triangles that mean a whole lot to us. One of them was the ability to operate as one team. So all of the stuff on the right-hand side is the change management that we're driving through the organization in our cross-functional team to shift from being siloed and product-centric to becoming member-centric and operating as one cross-functional team. The triangle at the bottom said, oh, well, how do we get that common understanding of a member, a common view? Because we had many, many dashboards that told us how we were doing with our members, and guess what? They didn't say the same thing. So it was important for us to link together what I call the horizontal systems, the CRM system, our cloud EDW, and as a foundation, master data management, and that's where Reltio comes in, so that we could then be confident that all these interactions and transactions that were happening around the organization, we knew which ones belonged to which members, and therefore we could use that to harness our understanding and deliver better experiences. So with all of that, this is a multi-year journey that it took to actually get senior leaders aligned, and we as the data and analytics professionals have been the ones pioneering and spearheading those conversations. So it's a big role change from what we thought a CDO did in the past, but what we found is that's what's necessary and relevant for us to be able to get the support to invest in the data and analytics initiatives that link back to the overall strategy by telling people what is the why. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Leland, who's going to talk about how did we take that wave, ride that wave, and build the case specifically for master data management.
Thanks, Jay. So as Jay described, right, a lot of heavy lifting already took place just to get that alignment with leadership and their agreement to go down this path. So we've got personalization, member centricity, and understanding the importance of MDM as it plays into this ecosystem. So the big question at this point was, from leadership, what is it going to take? To help answer that question, we elicited the help of a consultant to come in, help us understand what the pain points and opportunities were, what would it take to actually implement a solution, what's the right solution, right? What style of MDM is appropriate, what platform would best support our objectives, right? And then As a part of this blueprint, it's also figuring out, okay, now that we have an idea of what the scope of that would be, what is it going to take to actually implement through resources, budget, timeline? And with this investment, what is our return going to be? So through this 8-week process, we captured all this information, prepared it for leadership, and provided that information back to them. And fortunately, we were able to accomplish this prior to our annual planning cycle. Right? So now they understood where we're wanting to go, they had an understanding of what it was going to take, and they were willing to make that investment. Awesome. So what we're wanting to do as a part of that process as well, in that selection of a vendor, we did an RFP. And through that process, was not only is it understanding the platform, the capabilities, the features and functions, but what we were looking for is more of a strategic vendor. Someone that had a similar vision, someone who invests, right, and helps support what we're trying to accomplish. But beyond just working with us, it was working with our other vendor partners, right? It's understanding and collaborating to say, hey, we're able to do this portion of the solution, but how might you guys help in that? So that great collaboration, great alignment with the vision, understanding what it is that we were trying to accomplish through personalization and centering around member centricity, and then being able to now deliver that. So once we selected the vendor for the platform, now it's a question of how are we going to implement? We went to Reltio and said, hey, we need help. Right? Who would you recommend that we work with to help with our implementation? We don't have all those skills and resources internally. We need help. So they provided a list. Right? And again, we're looking for those strategic partners. So as we went through the process, sure, you've got skills, experience, those type of things. But the differentiator is we're looking for a strategic partner that had the thought leadership. Think about the things that we haven't even thought about. Right? And through this process, we selected First Gravity. They were asking us questions that were very provoking. They made us think about not only what we were asking for, but to further clarify what other things might actually be possible. So through that, we now have a platform. We've selected a partner. Now it's time to get the project started. Right? So we went through a multi-phase project. We're going to fast forward here. Right? We're not going to talk specifically about, this is a little out of, so the results. What we wanted to do was capture information from 8 core systems, right? These are representative of different business units and the platforms they use to support their business. And create this unified person profile to help in that personalization efforts. So that's what we created, right? We brought that information together, we went through it, but not only is it that profile, right? It's what more do we need to provide that personalization. So at that point, we also were looking at creating a financial household. And I think this was mentioned in other talks as well. This idea of not only just looking at a household based on the local address or where somebody lives or their name, but rather their financial accounts. Within a checking or savings, knowing who's the primary, who's the joint owner, through your investments or even insurance, right, on your policy insurance, who are the applicants or co-applicants. So you get a much broader vision of what all of those financial relationships are with different people. So another example is, I have a child who's away at school. I still have financial responsibility, right? We still have joint accounts. Or having a parent, right, that you're taking care of, an aging parent, doesn't live with you. Just having some of those perspectives of not just the person or that member, but all of those relationships can open up a lot of doors, right? So I think in some of the previous discussions talking about the whole wealth transfer, well, if we can understand, hey, here's all these children, right, of the primary members. If we anticipate that wealth moving there, how do we retain that population of people? right? What are the opportunities to actually cross-sell, upsell, based on what we understand now more broadly of that member's interactions with other people? So that was a critical element that actually First Gravity helped us create. And now, just to relate it a little bit back to Reltio, is that we were doing this prior to that creation of custom grouping, right? So now we're looking, saying, hey, rather than having a custom solution, what's our opportunity to now build it within Reltio and now have it in there, embedded in there natively, right? So those are some of the opportunities moving forward. So as we reflect back on this journey, what were some of those key things that affected us? I'll try to highlight things that hasn't been mentioned perhaps in the past over the last 2 days. One critical idea or critical area was people. Jay mentioned about working as one team. That wasn't just about working as one team internally to First Tech. It's also working as one team with our system integrator, First Gravity, right? So it's this idea of having the shared responsibility with our vendors to, ensure that not only are we working collaboratively, but we can actually help, because ultimately we're going to own it, right? We can't just say, hey, we hired you guys, go and build this for us. We actually need to partner and work together to actually deliver. The other part about people, looking more internally now, is just the whole idea of working as one team cross-functionally when you have to, how do you define a member? Right? Each group has certain specific ideas of how you would do that. But to do it at an enterprise level, understanding not only this person is a member versus not a member, but you have to dig deeper. You have to understand the logic down at the membership level. Are they really active? Are they not active? Right? What classifications actually means that they're still a member or not? So it's the collaboration across these different business groups. And even as far back as that blueprint that we did, there was a perspective of when you start to map out all the different applications, all the different integrations that take place, all the different business groups that either create or update information across these different systems. That whole process was even eye-opening for our stakeholder group to understand the complexity of the environment, but also the realization of, hey, it's actually going to take these conversations to actually get us through this. So that's from a people perspective. From a data process, we've talked quite a bit about data quality, all of those things. I think even beyond that, as we start to look at bringing all that information in, being able to evaluate the complexities with some of the historical data, right? That business processes have changed. Processes how person information was created or updated has changed over the time. So each application that we brought into Reltio, there's a whole body of effort going in to focus on the match and merge rules, right? We had to go through iterative processes each time because those rules don't necessarily apply to all applications, right? How do we apply it to one?